Hello everyone, I'm Daniel and we're back since now we finally have seen all of the Survivor cards in the upcoming core set of Arkham Horror the card game, the new core set replacing the old core set next year around April, I think. So, we've seen all the secret cards. We've now moved on to the Survivor cards, and I'm excited to talk about them because, well, we actually have something to talk about, which is Isabelle Barnes. This is Jenny's sister who now has replaced her essentially in the core. And wow, she's really different and really, really neat. Whereas we saw with Joe Diamond, a kind of blah ability of just drawing a card after successfully investigating, Izzie has some neat stuff going for her. So I think she also puts a really good context for the rest of the Survivor cards. So we got to start with her first. 4 willpower, 2 intellect, 3 combat and agility. And she's got this free triggered ability during a skill test that you're performing. Take a direct horror. So that's going to be during the window before or after committing normal cards from your hand. Commit an eligible skill from your discard pile to this test. After this test resolves, shuffle that card into your deck. You can do this once around. Okay, so essentially, you take the direct horror. You've got 9 of it to take, essentially. Well, 8. Heal yourself, hopefully. So you can do this more than a few times per scenario. And you get to pick any skill, not just a survivor skill, which is kind of reminds me of Gift of Nodens a bit from the last set, but this is any skill that's eligible. So matching icons, essentially, and commit it. Then it goes back into your deck. So there's a little bit of limited recursion here because it's only skills. It has to be things that got into your discard pile in the first place. Maybe you committed them from your hand on the previous test or last round. But it doesn't totally break things because you don't put it right into your hand afterwards. It goes into your deck, which can be good for lots of reasons, but it also can block you from drawing things that you haven't seen yet. So I think this is pretty strong once the skills get really good. Right now, with just the core set skills, and I assume we're going to get all of Guts, Overpower, Manual Dexterity. We've seen Perception. Those draw a card, right? So you get a little bit of card draw from it, essentially. And maybe it's a little bit neutral, but once the skills get really good, this could get dangerous. But as it is, I think this is a very cool interactive ability. I like how in the past survivors had a lot of recursion going on, but with the full card pool, it started to get a little bit silly, a little bit too free. And starting over again, we don't have things like Resourceful, which just got any card back that was a survivor card from your discard pile. We don't have Scavenging in the core, which will let you pick up all kinds of things, kind of unlimited recursion there. So what we do have, and we'll see them in a bit, other ways to pick up cards from the discard pile, but they're pretty limited in scope. And this is kind of like that too. But again, maybe a few years down the line, or maybe even just with the Miguel de la Cruz starter deck that we'll get soon too, we might get easier ways to get things back or better skills. So that's her. 5 health is important. We'll talk about that in a second. 9 sanity is really good. The Elder Sign effect of +1 if you succeed, heal 1 horror is fantastic. Already love with the 2 sets that we've seen, 2 investigators that we've seen so far, that the Elder Sign does something. And here it's a big something. We have not seen the Mystic cards yet outside of a few. So we've seen Cloak of Resonance. That's the one where you put horror on it and deals damage to some enemy at your location. We've seen the way to cancel things by taking a horror, Ward of Protection reprint, and we've seen the Cosmic Flame fighting asset. So she got full 4 willpower is pretty good. I think she can deal with that. And the other stats are pretty middling, but again, if you're able to commit things from your discard pile, it looks a lot better. So nice survivor line, I think. We'll see more stuff that I think makes that make more sense too. But right, she has 0-5 survivor, 0-2 mystic. Let's move on to her signatures because they're important here too. All right, Isabelle's twin 45s. So it's not Jenny's anymore. She took them from her sister, I suppose. And it actually has like a pretty legitimately fun ability here. So once again, we're seeing that the cards have a class. The signature cards have a class. So survivor here, of course. 6 ammo. You can take an action to spend an ammo fight using your combat, getting +1 combat and deal +1 damage for the attack. And if that doesn't finish off an enemy, then you can actually spend more ammo, exhaust them, and then fight using agility this time, getting +1. So essentially, those are the same because you have the same combat and agility stats base, but you might be using different cards to commit to get those to be better numbers. Because +1, starting with 3, is not great. Jenny had a +2, and other ways to improve that. Um, she's going to have to pass these, and it's not that easy to do so with the card pool as it is now. But I imagine this will get a lot better. Also, this action compression is pretty cool. You could do that pop pop, right, with the guns, and that's pretty cool. Really thematic. So then there's her weakness here, breaking point. Revelation, take 1 direct damage. Then, comma, if you have 6 or fewer remaining sanity, take 1 direct damage. Then, comma, if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity, take 1 direct damage. Okay, pretty spooky when you only have 5 health to begin with. So Izzie needs to put damage elsewhere in order to have damage to take for breaking point. Or maybe you just make sure you haven't used your ability so much so you have a lot of remaining sanity. So 6 or fewer means that you've only used her ability twice, right? We'd have 7 remaining sanity. So you want to draw this as early as possible. It's just not that easy to do so, I think. Elephant in the room, if you ignore or cancel that first direct damage because of the then comma, the rest of the card doesn't even fire. And if you're saying, what are you talking about? Let me show you in the rules, at least the rules for the original core set. Things might change. Here's what then comma says. The very last bullet point here. If the pre-then aspect of an effect does not successfully resolve in full, the post-then aspect does not resolve. Let me just move this out of the way a bit so you can see breaking point. So you take the 1 direct damage, but if you cancel that, that is the pre-then part. So you just, none of the rest of this happens. So you cancel that 1. Now, how you cancel it, we don't know. We don't have any ways of canceling damage right now. Maybe with older cards you can, or maybe with newer cards that we haven't seen yet you can, but right now you can't with just core 2026 cards. There's one other thing in here, and it's one I did not know about, but in conversations with folks about this card, I learned about. This second bullet point. So the post-then aspect of an effect has timing priority over all other indirect consequences of the resolution of the pre-then effect. For example, if an effect read, draw an encounter card, then take 1 horror, and a player controls an ability that says after you draw an encounter card, the post-then take 1 horror aspect occurs before all of the reaction after you draw an encounter card stuff happens, which is weird because the word says then, but this has been in the rules and I've never noticed it because it's never mattered. But there's a certain card that got reprinted, and let's take a look at that card. It should be right here on the screen. I guess I need to move this a little bit further. It's Bandages. Bandages says, and this is a reprint from Edge of the Earth, and a really cool one, mind you. If after Investigator or ally asset your location takes 1 or more damage, spend a supply, heal 1 damage from that card. Okay, so what this essentially means is that Bandages can heal all 3 of that direct horror, but you need to, direct damage. You need to take all 3 direct damage first. Let's go back to the previous thing so we can see what that actually looked like for breaking point. Okay, so what happens is you take 1 direct damage and you say, I want to react to that with Bandages. Well, you can, but it won't actually heal you until all of the post-then stuff happens too, because all of that has timing priority over that reaction. So you take 1 direct damage, and let's just pretend you have, 3 or fewer remaining sanity. You take the next direct damage, then you take the 3rd direct damage, and then you can heal all 3 of it with your 3 supplies from Bandages. So if the 3 direct damage didn't kill you, Bandages is really good. If the 3 direct damage kills you, sorry, you're dead. You can't react using bandages. I cannot imagine this is intended. So maybe we'll get some clarification on this, but it's right there in the rules. Like it is very clear about what is supposed to happen here. I also think the cheesing the whole thing with canceling the first direct damage is maybe not intended. I'm not sure. That seems a little weird. But that's how then comma works in this game. There's rules overloaded terms all over the place. I've talked about this on my channel many times, but there's a then comma entry in the rulebook. It's right there. And well, it's confusing because you want to read this as an English after the first thing happens, the next thing happens, right? But in the rules, this is has a lot of baggage. All right, that's breaking point. I hope we get some clarification because that just doesn't feel right to me about the power level or the intention behind the design. But there you go. Okay, bandages is here. I think it's a really good card. I think it's really nice for the core because we likely will see other interactions with cards that take damage. But it's a good support card too. Alexei Saburov is over here, and he's been there since the beginning of our spoiler season, our preview season. He's really good. I don't need to say anything more about him. He's just another way for Izzie, I guess, to offload horror that she doesn't want to put on her to make more room for her doing all the skill recursion. Okay, Meat Cleaver is here. Sorry, it's not secret cards anymore. It's still survivor cards. Meat Cleaver is here, and it's a reprint from Circle Undone, but we have an upgrade. We have an upgrade that is level 3, which felt like a bit steep when I first saw the card, but at the same time, it gives you an extra +1 for your combat. It's base +2, +3 instead if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. This makes a lot more sense now that we've seen Izzie, who has, well, only 3 combat, so the +3 would be crazy good. She's likely to have only 3 or fewer remaining sanity using her ability quite a bit. And then, of course, being able to defeat enemies to heal the horror back is sweet. Now, think about Lexi from a slide ago. Use this ability to do extra damage, right? Take the horror, don't place it on Izzie, place it on Alexei. Next turn, it'll heal off of him, rinse and repeat. So the Meat Cleaver in the original version of this game, while you used to do it with Pete Sylvester, I think it works just as good with Alexei Saburov now. But I like how healing the horror is more important for different reasons now than we saw before. Very good addition. I like melee weapons in this way. I don't think they should be like the unlimited uses for with no consequences. This does require you to do a little bit of thinking, but it's good. Again, for 3 XP in the old chapter 1, I feel like this is a bit steep, but maybe that's fine, and I think it's good. Moving on, we have a couple of clothing items. One is actually clothing, the other one is apparel. Jumpsuit here. During your turn, discard jumpsuit, choose a tool or weapon asset in your discard pile and add it to your hand. We'll see another tool in a second, but the weapon of choice might be like bouncing the twin 45s with the meat cleaver, so you can play over the twin 45s with the meat cleaver and then get them back with jumpsuit. It does 6 ammo on it, but there's really no way that we know of to reload that ammo other than just playing the card again. So jumpsuit's kind of a cool way to do that. So again, very limited recursion, but also pretty sweet, right? You just don't take any tests, you just do it. It may waste some of that soak from jumpsuit, but that's okay. Fedora is soak. It's expensive soak, but it's neutral, right? The 2 cost here I think is a bit much. I think it'd be cool if this were fast. Otherwise, I mean, what is this really, right? It's a replacement for Bulletproof Vest and Elder Sign Amulet, I think. Those cards were not played that often. They're not great, but they were, let's say they were ways to make sure you don't die after taking trauma and whatnot. And you could decide to slot them in later. A level 0 card like this has a really hard thing to decide to put in your deck. Like, do I need this? Well, Bulletproof Vest and Elder Sign Amulet were answers to oh, I actually might need this now. And putting XP into a better card felt okay because you didn't do it until it was necessary. Level 0 cards like this, mm, I think even in a limited card pool, I'm not looking to put this in. But here it is. I already talked about the slot business with Fedora. Maybe this signals some other cool stuff that we'll get in the future. Dexter Drake might get a hat. Who knows? We'll find out. So I just mentioned a tool. Old Compass is here. This is a way for Izzie to get clues. Look what I found, a reprint. Also a way to get clues. She only has 2 intellect, remember? So using things like the hand crank flashlight from last time and this old compass seems really good. Investigate using intellect. -1 shot for the investigation. So a bit like Lantern from chapter 1, but it's got a built-in live and learn. If you fail, you may exhaust Old Compass to attempt this test again. If you do, your location gets -2 shroud for this investigation instead. So essentially, you find somewhere that might be tough to investigate. You get to get 2 cracks at it, and it's even okay for you to fail. You can still continue to use the compass after you exhaust it, just -1 shroud for the rest of that particular round. Well, turn really. Um, the look what I found combos nicely because you get yourself within range of being able to fail a skill test by 2 or less. Remember, if you have a difficulty of 2, you cannot fail by more than 2. Even if you draw a -5, you're still going to fail by 2. So both modes of Old Compass help you get there. So I feel like one way or another, you're getting some clues with the combo of these 2 cards. Now, whether or not Izzie should be getting a lot of clues, I don't know, but I think this is something, right? It's something for her to have. Let's move on to a few more cards that are, well, one was previewed at the very beginning, and another one that is was previewed by playing board games a few weeks back. Hunter's Instinct is a really good recursion card for getting back events like the aforementioned Look What I Found. And this is just after you engage enemies, you get to pick any level 0 event in your discard pile. Uh, this is, more balanced scavenging. That's the way I feel at this point. No test again. Good for people who deal with enemies, but also limited to what you can get back. Level 0 is, I mean, there's lots of good level 0 cards, but um, the scaling, right, for these cards is not off the charts. Now, for level headed, we saw this card in a different version in Seeker. We had Sharp Rhetoric. It was another talent that let us spend resources to boost our skill values while doing something in particular, or at a lower rate for anything for that particular kind of test. I have tried this card out. I've been playing a parallel gym deck that uses level headed, and it is really good. Again, the rate of spend 1 resource, but get +2 on 2 defensive stats, usually those are the things that scenario cards test, is incredible. The original talents in the core, the hyper awareness, physical training, etc., the one for survivors was called Dig Deep, and that one also was spend a 1 resource for willpower or agility. This is a strict upgrade at level 0 anyway. It's incredible. I think those cards just were missing a little something. This might be, I'm not gonna say it's too good. You do have to invest something, but if you have a reasonable amount of economy in your deck, and maybe that's harder to do in Core 2026 compared to how I played it, then this is a very good way to make sure you do not die and you pass lots of tests that you otherwise had a hard time getting to. So, excellent card. Highly recommend trying this one out when you get a chance to. Both of these cards came out the same day. We've got an evade event, shove off, evade using agility. If you succeed, deal 1 damage to the evaded enemy. If you fail, this goes back to your hand at the end of your turn. It's Rita's ability, essentially. It's not great, right? It's a little bit like the cheap shot rogue event, but that had a lot more upside. You had to succeed by a few to make it work, but I think it was doing a lot more for you and it made it easier for you to pass the test. This one, I think it's hard to pass the test. Izzie's only at 3. So maybe you're going to fail more often, but what did that get you? You wasted An event, not as much. You get it back. You waste a resource, bigger deal. But also, since it returns to your hand at the end of your turn, what are you going to do for the rest of that particular round? I don't know. If you compare this to the similar parlay event from a few cycles ago, which was had the Patrice and Deep One art, stall for time, that one went back to your hand if you failed right away, right after the test. So you could try again. This one, you can try again next round, but you might not want to use it next round. So I think this card is pretty eh, eh. Slippery, I like much more. This is a skill. We actually are seeing several skills in this set. In the original core set, survivors only got one skill. I mean, every class got exactly one. It was survival instinct. This is a totally different card. If the skill test is successful while evading a non-elite enemy, that enemy does not ready during the next upkeep phase. Cool. A nice tool in a survivor arsenal. I think it's perfectly fine. There's a lot of discussion about, does this feel more like a rogue ability? Well, look, they're changing this all up. It's okay for our expectations to change over time about what is in what color pie. I have no strong feelings here. I think it's a good effect. It's not great, right? I really want to kill the enemy or get away from them. Them not readying is more important if they're bigger, if I have other things to do in that location. It's fine. I think this is makes much more sense if you don't need to hold on to it into your hand and just commit it from your discard pile using Izzie's ability. Then I can pick out when this is much more useful. So I like this. Two more skills. Timely Intervention is our lucky reprint. It has totally different icons, though. This Lucky had no icons, and this has willpower, agility, and a wild. Max 1 committed per skill test. You may commit Timely Intervention from your hand after revealing chaos tokens during a skill test that you are performing. Okay, so you take a test. Let's pretend it's an agility 3 test. You fail by 2. Well, you pull the chaos token, you play this, you get the 2 icons for the wild and the agility, and now you pass the test because you're at even. Okay, if it's not a willpower or agility test, you'll get +1. Might be enough, might not be enough, so it's not quite as good as Lucky. Lucky also let you play more than one of them. This is just one. The other thing about this is it costs nothing. So maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay for this to be a little bit worse than Lucky, even though it's free. So saves you on the resource. I think the card is good. It's interesting that they didn't just reprint Lucky. I'm a little unsure about why, but this seems quite good. You also, what's the other interaction here that's interesting? You only do one. Oh, well, I mean, it's skill synergy, right? So the more stuff that we get that cares about skills, like Izzie herself, makes this card better. Whereas in the original core, we had Wendy who could recur events. Lucky made a lot more sense there. All right, level 2 event, skill on the brink with some really cool art there. This one has 2 icons on it, and they're wild. Max 1 committed per skill test. If this test fails, return each other card committed to this test to its owner's hand and draw 1 card. Importantly, if you're using Izzie's ability to commit a different card from your hand discard pile, it's still going to get shuffled in. Like this is going to say you fail a test, all cards go back to their owner's hands, you draw a card. Izzie's ability still is going to shuffle in that card that went back to your hand. So there's no cheating, I suppose, using that. Anyway, regardless, this is 2 XP for what? For 2 icons? Man, I hope we get that at level 0. This fail safe to get other important skills back, like a deduction or a vicious blow that I presumably we're getting. I mean, look, this is one of those cards that's trying to do 2 things, right? What are the odds that you're committing this and failing, given that it gives you 2 icons already? You probably, are just thinking about an auto fail at that point. Again, how many times are you committing one thing plus a bunch of other things, right? That's what this card wants you to do. and it's just the auto fail that gets you, which is 1 out of 16 to 20 tokens. I'm not too scared of that, but maybe this is worth 2 XP if you have nothing else to put it in. I will say that if you commit this from your discard pile using Izzie's ability, I think it's more likely you'd have other cards committed. There's enough skills here that I think that could happen. Um, so maybe you say, I'll take the direct horror to ensure that this is not a total disaster. And in that sense, it's okay. I would prefer this at 1 XP, maybe with one fewer icon, but I think it's okay. I was really down on it for a while, and then I saw Izzie's ability, and I said, okay, I can see that it's more likely for you to use this in its intended way, but it's still a bit overcosted, especially when we get this card, Scrape By. This is an event this time. Level 1, so 1 XP, costs you 1. Fast play when you would fail a skill test during which a non-auto fail token was revealed. You can reveal any other token and, well, you can play this. You succeed at that skill test instead. By the way, an errata there, meaning that you automatically succeed at the skill test instead. If a token with a symbol was revealed during that skill test, take 1 horror. Oh no, I don't think anyone cares about that. Don't play the card if the horror is going to kill you. Anyway, this is crazy strong for 1 XP. If you think about the previous card on the brink being a little bit of, well, I hope I avoid some disaster, right, by committing that card. This just says there is no disaster unless you draw the autofail token. I should say, though, that the wording there is a bit bizarre. If you draw 2 tokens for whatever reason, like a cultist token says draw another token, you technically have failed a skill test during which a non-autofail token was revealed, and you pass. You just automatically succeed. So that might be a bit of an oopsie, but the devs have confirmed that that's okay, apparently. The automatically succeed part, that was definitely a mistake, but there you go. This is wild to me. So a lucky gives you +2 if you just do 1. An upgraded lucky, level 3, gives you a +3. This just says I could fail a skill test by 5 and I can still play this and succeed for 1 XP. And this doesn't remove from the game at all. And if you think about other cards that are similar to this from the old Chapter 1, Eucatastrophe, which turned even auto fails into Elder Signs, that didn't guarantee a success. Not all Elder Signs are automatically succeed. This is just, there you go, you get it. So you can take some wild tests. And what I'm looking at so far from Survivor is a lot of ways to pass tests and not a whole lot to do with them, which isn't a huge problem, right? Like, I think there's enough clue stuff with that old compass. The meat cleaver is decent if you can draw it. I like Izzie's guns. So I'm seeing more about, like, okay, we can pass those tests with our low numbers, which is cool. Like Joe Diamond, where I said there was tons of draw but nothing to draw. This is like pass lots of tests, but the tests are just kind of there. And maybe they're impactful, maybe they're not. Most of the time you win this game, not by passing tests, but making those tests impactful. And so far we haven't seen a lot of that. It's never really been Survivor's shtick, right? They often were good at passing tests, but not a whole lot of action compression, so I'm not surprised. But it's funny to see so much of the stuff stacked up in this set as just being you pass tests. And maybe they had a problem with Izzie doing so, and they needed to print more stuff for her. So I kind of get it. But I mean, the best thing we've seen so far is a level 3 card, right? This one feels like a level 3 card, but it's not. I believe that's it for the Survivor cards. There's just a couple more things here with the weakness and another neutral card, but that's kind of my take on the Survivors. They're really cool. Like, we didn't see that many reprints. I believe it was just the Bandages and Meat Cleaver and Look What I Found. And the rest of what we got was new and interesting and powerful. I'm digging it. I'd love to see the Mystic cards now, to see the rest of what Izzie can do. The same thing I felt about Joe and Guardian. I feel like the Guardian stuff will make Joe interesting. Um, Izzie's already interesting, but as I just said, all we get are level 3 for the meat cleaver. We have nothing that's level 4 or 5. I really wish that they learned from chapter 1 and said, is that such a great idea to limit survivor to for level 0 to 3 cards and not give them level 4 or 5 effects? I I don't know. I mean, again, recursion makes their cards better even at level 0, but they need to be careful about that. Okay. Last few things that we got the past few weeks, we have another random basic weakness. This is an enemy, the Nameless Lurker, 2/1/2, aloof, spawns at the farthest empty location, so already kind of difficult and annoying to deal with. When the investigation phase ends, if the Nameless Lurker is ready and has no doom on it, place 1 doom on it. So you got to go track this guy down. Reminds me a lot of Tony's weakness, right? Tony's quarry was very similar. It came in with doom. This one, generally, you're going to draw it during upkeep, although maybe not. It spawns somewhere far away. End of the investigation phase, it gets the doom. Even if you say, okay, ancient evils, whatever. Guess what? It's going to get another doom next agenda. That is very tough, especially since this guy's aloof. Easy to kill, but you're going to need some movement in order to deal with him. I think this is pretty cool. It's not otherwise punishing. The two horror's kind of funny. But he basically says, come over here. Like, you cannot ignore him. But if there's ever a scenario where he pops up and you have a very long agenda, there's no reason not to go after him eventually. You probably can get there. And maybe if you're lucky, locations will leave play and he will too. All right, last one here is Broken Bottle. This is a replacement for our good old knife. I hope we don't get 10 copies, but we might. And I don't know about this card. Original Knife was not good. There were a couple places you could play it and be kind of interesting. This card is very, very similar. Fight with combat, get +1 for the attack. That was Knife. Knife had a second line that said fight +2, discard it, +1 damage. This one says just if you succeed on the fight on top here, you may discard it to get +1 damage. So all you ever get is +1. Knife could get you +2 if you wanted the 2 damage. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing. You can make room for it for something better that you've drawn, and it's not terrible to just throw this off. But for probably a lot of copies in the core set, I really wish that we were done making bad cards. And I know people say things like they need to print some like bad baseline effects so people can learn. Oh, this is what is good, like Fedora. Like that's to teach you that this is too expensive. I don't agree with that. Like just print good cards, and there can be good neutral cards that just need to make it a little more expensive, and it can be a little better. I don't think these decks are so desperate. I think they've learned much more um, to warrant including things that are just not part of your build. Um, I might be wrong on that. It could be that in True Solo, for example, you need to have this, and it's bad, but you just need to. But again, my answer to that would be make it cost 2 and be a little bit better. Make it cost 3, be a little better. I just don't see the need unless there's other really cool synergy, which I guess there's that jumpsuit, but seriously, um, that this needs to exist. Like just print a better card. The flashlight, the hand crank flashlight, there's a good reason to run that. But I think they made another knife. It's not that much better than the old knife, and in some ways it's not as good. It's so similar that that's why I'm like, really? Pretty cool art though. Okay, I believe we're all done. So thank you for watching, and we're gonna look forward to Guardian Week next week. I actually will be previewing one more, well, two more cards really, but one more Guardian card in a couple of weeks. So look for that. I believe I'm scheduled for the 17th of December. Okay, so we'll see you then, and thanks for watching.